Every last day of the month, no fisherman in Kalo village went near the sea. It was said that all kinds of creatures rose from the deep, hunting for men to eat. No one ever dared to find out. But Joro was desperate. He had borrowed money from neighbors and traders to care for his sick mother, yet she had died, leaving him with nothing but debt and shame. His creditors hounded him daily. That day, he told himself he had no choice. With no other fishermen around, he might return with enough fish to change his fortune. He pushed his canoe into the waves and paddled toward the open water. The sea was too quiet. His oar cut through the surface with a heavy sound that seemed to echo. He cast his net and waited, heart thumping. That was when he saw her. At the far end of the rocks, a figure sat still against the sunday. Her hair flowed down her back, wet and shining. At first, Joro thought it was only a trick of the sunlight, but then she turned. The scales of her tail caught the light. A mermaid. Fear gripped him. He almost leapt from the canoe to flee, but his arms would not move. Her eyes held him. She did not attack, nor did she vanish. He thought she would drag him under, but instead she smiled. That night, Joro returned home trembling. He swore never to tell anyone. But the next evening, curiosity dragged him back. She was there, waiting on the rock, as if she knew he would come. One visit became two, then many. His fear slowly faded. He learned her name was Sanu. She was not a ghost, but a mermaid who had watched men from the deep for many years. They began to share their lives. Joro spoke of his mother's death and the deaths that followed. He told her how hard he worked, yet still felt alone. Sanu also trusted him with her secret. When she cried, her tears hardened into diamonds. They became friends. When storms came, Joro's life grew harder. One night, the waves crashed and swallowed his nets, his hooks, even his canoe. He was left with nothing. Hunger pressed on him. With shame in his heart, he told Sanu of his troubles. She listened, then her eyes filled with tears. When they fell into his hands, they hardened into sparkling stones. Joro could hardly breathe. He sold the diamonds in the town market, and in a short time his life changed. He built a new boat, stronger than before. He paid off his debts. He bought new nets, finer than any in the village. People began to look at him with envy. Still, he kept Sanu's secret safe. But each time he went to see her, he asked for more. At first, Sanu gave willingly. She believed she was helping the man she loved. But as his pockets grew heavier, Joro's heart began to twist. He no longer dreamed of fishing or the sea. He dreamed of kingdoms, of gold, of being a man above all others. The diamonds had planted seeds of hunger in him, and those seeds grew darker each day. One night, after counting his stones in secret, a thought struck him. If Sanu's tears could bring him such wealth, what if he could make her cry again and again? What if he never let her stop? His chest burned with the idea. The moon was high when he rose from his mat. He walked toward the shore, where the waves whispered. He knew Sanu would be waiting. His mind swelled with a plan so heavy that even the sea seemed to sense it. And that was the night Joro decided. Joro decided to have the mermaid all to himself. He waited until the next end of the month, the day when the sea was left alone by every fisherman. That night, he paddled his canoe out, carrying a heavy log of wood. Sanu was there, sitting on the same rock where they always met. She smiled when she saw him. To her, he was the man she had chosen to trust. She did not notice the darkness on his face. Joro walked quickly toward her, the log hidden at his side. Before she could speak, he raised it high and struck her head. In that flash of pain, Sanu remembered her mother's warning. Stay away from humans. Then her body went limp. Joro caught her before she fell into the water. He dragged her into his canoe and paddled her toward shore. Once there, he lifted her into a movable cart he had prepared. He covered her completely with mats so no one would see. Under the cover, her hair trailed with seawater. leaving a thin wet line behind as he pulled the cart toward his home. Inside, he tied her hands and gagged her mouth. He even tended to the wound on her head, but not out of kindness. It was because he needed her alive. When she finally woke up, she was devastated. She begged him with her eyes and muffled cries. But Joro only shook his head. He told her she would make him rich, and after that, maybe he would let her go. He told her to save her strength for crying. Days passed. When Sanu refused to cry, Joro beat her until the tears came. Each time, diamonds fell, and Joro gathered them with greedy hands. Soon, his wealth grew beyond measure. He built a new house, far bigger than any in Kalo. He bought horses, fine clothes, and gold jewelry that shone brighter than the Sunday villagers could not believe it. How had Joro, who once owed everyone money, suddenly become the richest man in the land? Many asked him for advice, begged him to reveal his secrets. But Joro only gave vague answers, brushing them aside. Suspicion grew. Among those who doubted him was a young man named Falo. He was sharp-eyed and restless, unwilling to accept Joro's lies. Falo decided to spy on him. One evening, while Joro drank with friends in the village square, Falo slipped away. He crept to Joro's compound, climbed the fence, crept around the yard. At the back of the house, he found a small window, its wooden frame cracked. He pushed it slightly open and peered inside. There, chained in a dimly lit room, was a woman unlike any he had ever seen. Her long hair fell across her shoulders, and her tail shimmered faintly even in the dark. Falo's mouth went dry. He rubbed his eyes, but the vision did not change. A mermaid. When Sanu noticed him, her eyes widened. She whispered urgently, begging him to save her. Falo's heart raced. Before Falo could react, the sound of footsteps thudded against the ground outside. The front gate creaked open. Joro was back. Falo's heart pounded. He crouched low beneath the window, pressing his back against the wall. Inside, the chain rattled again as Sanu moved nervously. The door latch scraped. Joro's hand was on it. In one more breath, he would enter. Joro opened the door slowly. His drunken eyes softened when he saw Sanu chained in the corner. He smiled, his greed rising like fire. Cry, he demanded. Sanu's lips trembled. She begged him with weak words, saying her strength was gone, that even if she tried, she could not cry. But Joro, blinded by desire, raised his hand and beat her until her tears came. The drops struck the ground, glittering and hardening into diamonds. Outside, crouched below the cracked window, Falo saw everything. His chest pounded as he watched Joro kneel and gather the diamonds with greedy fingers, leaving Sanu beating and gasping. Falo's eyes widened. Stories told to frighten children had come alive before him. A mermaid, diamonds from her tears, and Joro, the man everyone envied, was nothing but a monster. When Joro finally left the room, Falo slipped away. He climbed the fence, fled into the night, and stumbled back to his home. But sleep never came. The memory of Sano's bruised face haunted him. He tossed on his mat, hearing her chains in his mind. At last, he knew he could not ignore it. He would save her. The next night, Falo crept back. Again, he went to the same window. Inside, Sanu lay weak, her hands tied not with chains but with ropes. Joro had removed the chains because they caught too deeply, yet he still kept her bound. Falo tapped lightly on the window frame. Sanu turned her head, her eyes dim but alive. She rolled closer, dragging her tail across the floor. Falo told her that he would return tomorrow, better prepared. And he kept his word. On the following night, luck seemed to be on his side. Joro had staggered home drunk and left his gate wide open. Falo waited until silence fell, then slipped inside with a cart ready. At the back window, he found Sanu. Her eyes lit up faintly when she saw him. He untied the ropes, pulled her carefully through the window, and lifted her onto his shoulder. Her body was heavy, but he carried her toward the gate. He laid her gently in the cart and pushed it toward the sea. But Joro woke with a start. He had dreamed of the mermaid vanishing. Uneasy, he stumbled to her room and found it empty. His heart thundered. In panic, he grabbed his hunting gun and stormed outside. At the gate, he saw Falo pushing the cart away. Thief! Joro roared, firing into the night. He missed the shot. Villagers woke from their sleep and poured into the street, following the noise. Soon, a crowd formed, chasing after the commotion, until they all reached the shore. There, Falo stopped, struggling to lift Sanu from the cart. Joro caught up, his gun in hand. He fired a shot into the air, forcing Falo to freeze. Take one more step, Joro growled, and I'll kill you. The villagers stood behind him, murmuring in confusion. Falo shouted back that Joro was cruel, that he had enslaved a creature of the sea for his own greed. Joro only laughed bitterly. She's not even human. What I do with her is none of your business. Nobody cared about me when I was poor. But now that I'm rich, everyone wants to know my secret. As the two argued, Sanu stared. Weak but determined, she slid from the cart. The waves lapped only a few steps away. With all her strength, she dragged herself across the sand and threw herself into the sea. No! Joro screamed. He dropped his gun and ran after her. The moment Sanu touched the water, her body shone. The sea seemed to breathe with her. Joro dived in, thrashing toward her, desperate to drag her back. But the waves rose, higher and higher, as if the ocean itself had woken to protect its child. The villagers stood in silence as the sea swallowed Joro. His cries for help turned to choking gasps. He tried to swim back, but every stroke dragged him deeper. His hands reached out of the foam one last time. Then he was gone. The water grew calm. Only the moonlight rippled on the surface. Falo dropped to his knees, trembling. The villagers murmured as he told them everything he had seen. Some were in support of his actions and pitied the mermaid, but others were against him, saying he was only jealous of Joro's wealth. By morning, Joro's lifeless body washed up on the shore. He was buried that same day, without honor. Deep in the shining waters, Sanu was finally reunited with her family who had searched for her endlessly. Joy stirred the sea as they embraced her, grateful she had returned alive. The people remembered Joro as a warning. A man who traded love for wealth, kindness for cruelty, and lost everything. And so it was told for generations. Greed may fill your hands, but it will always empty your soul.